All right, let's talk about white balance. White balance is how you are going to achieve beautiful, consistent image galleries. And when you're working with artificial light, such as continuous light or strobe, it's easy to do a custom white balance. And this will make sure that your images are going to stay really consistent throughout the entire gallery, because that light source is not going to change throughout the session. However, when you're shooting with natural light, especially on a cloudy day, that light is going to continuously change throughout a shoot. And sometimes when we're working with babies and we know how unpredictable they can be, we don't often have the luxury of time to do that custom white balance throughout the entire session every time that light changes. Sometimes we only have that split second to get the shot, which is why I use auto white balance when working with natural light, and then that way I can go back later on and I can adjust the white balance in Camera Raw, and that will still give me a wonderful consistent gallery. So you can see I'm working with a continuous daylight balanced light here. I could use auto white balance and I could go back and do the same as what I do when I'm shooting with natural light, but I often have the luxury of time at the beginning of my session when mum is feeding the baby, or we're sort of just starting out, and I can do a custom white balance, and I'm going to show you how I do that using a grey card. You can do this also with strobe. I would do it exactly the same way. So to do that, the first thing I need to make sure is that my light is exactly where I want it, and I'm going to use a grey card and I'm going to position that where the baby will be placed. So for example, if the baby wasn't in this prop, I would just lay down the grey card on top of the prop exactly where I would position the baby, so that the same amount of light that falls across the grey card is going to be that same amount of light that falls across the baby when I'm taking a photograph of it. Now, if you are going to change different setups, you can continually do another custom white balance throughout your session. However, that light source shouldn't change when you're using the posing bag and then going on to props. But with this, I need to make sure that when I'm doing it, that light stays nice and even and it's falling across the grey card like it is right here. Now, it's going to change depending on what camera you're using, but I'm using a Canon camera, so I'm going to show you how I do it. And then if you're using a different make and model, make sure that you go back and refer to your camera booklet, the instructions, to see how to do it properly within your camera. And it shouldn't take you long, and it is quite easy. So I'm going to come in and make sure that my body or my camera doesn't block any of the light that's falling across the grey card. I'm going to take a photograph and I'm going to fill the frame with the entire grey card. So that way I'm not seeing anything else around the outside of my image. Now, if there's no marker on the centre of the grey card, you'll see a lot of different types of grey cards. They'll often have like a little cross in the centre which allows you to focus on it. But when you've just got a plain piece of grey card like this, you can get your focus on the outside there, and it doesn't even matter if the image is not in focus. But what you can do is make sure your camera settings also in terms of your ISO and aperture are set to where you want them to be. You can come in and you can focus there on the outside. I can switch my focus now to manual, and I can come in and fill that frame. Now I'm going to adjust my shutter speed so that I'm in the middle of my meter there to get this shot. All right. So that's exactly how your image should look on the back of your camera, completely grey. And the information there should be in the centre of your meter. That means that you've got that right exposure. So what I'm going to do now is go to my camera settings, select menu. I'm going to go to custom white balance, hit set, and it's going to ask me, down the bottom here, I'm going to hit set, and it's going to say use white balance data from this image for custom white balance. I'm going to go OK, and then it's going to say set, and I'm going to go OK. Now I'm going to adjust my white balance up here, the settings in my camera, down to the custom white balance. And now I've got that set completely for this neutral grey tone. And that's going to make sure that my exposure throughout this session is going to stay nice and consistent in terms of that exposure and colour. It is really quite easy to do. Often you can use a white sheet of paper as well, but to get that perfect neutral tone, to make sure that your camera recognises what that is, using an 18% grey card is what's going to help you achieve those results. Light is the most important tool to a photographer, which is why it's crucial that we understand it and know how to capture it.